Books, books. I like books. I'm gonna read them all.
Hi readers, Chris here. Welcome to my channel where I review fantasy, Stephen King, all sorts of books. And today I'm going to be talking about The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. Yes, I finally read this book. Finally read it. For those of you who don't know, this book was a social media darling a few years back. It was like the most talked about book of the year. Everyone loved it on social media. Bookstagram, Book Talk, BookTube. And then, as with most things that are super popular, later on, there started to be some unpopular opinions that came out about this book. I've been having FOMO about it for so long, but I finally decided now was the time to read it. And I was a little skeptical because usually when books are really hyped up like that, I feel like they don't always reach my expectations. This book, okay, so long story short, I actually ended up really enjoying this book, but it took me a while to get there, and I'm going to tell you why. So the whole premise of this book is that we have a young girl named Adeline, Addie for short, and she grew up like way back in the 1600s. She was supposed to enter into this arranged marriage in her village, but she runs off into the woods one night because she doesn't want that, and she prays to all the spirits, to anyone that's listening, to please get her out of this situation. And someone answers her call, this dark spirit, and she basically makes a deal with him that like he will get her out of this, but like she owes him. So what ends up happening is that she is cursed. She is cursed with immortality, so she's never going to die, but no one remembers her. So no matter where she goes, who she talks to, as soon as the person she's talking to like turns their head, breaks eye contact, they completely forget who she is. So of course this was like really hard to live with at first, but she eventually figures out kind of how to adjust. So this book really goes back and forth between present day, where she's living in present day in New York City, and flashbacks to like how this happened to her and her journey to like kind of live with this. Now, the other part of the curse is basically like this spirit is like, I will end the curse for you when you like surrender and you want to die, basically. And so this guy, this spirit, visits her once a year to basically say like, hey, are you ready? Have you given up? Like, are you ready to move on? And up until the point of this book, like, she has not. The other thing that ends up happening in present day in New York is that she meets a young boy, and this boy can remember her. He does remember her. And it's like, why does this random guy remember her? Like, why him and no one else the entire hundreds of years she's been alive? Like, what's going on? So, yeah, there's both a lot going on in this book and not a lot going on in this book at the same time. So here was my experience reading this book. Through the first half or so of this book, I really was wondering where the story was going. Because like I mentioned, it goes back and forth pretty much every other chapter between present day and the past. And at first, I really could not figure out, like plot-wise, where this was going. And a lot of the flashbacks felt unnecessary. I'm like, why are there so many flashbacks? Why do I care about all these random things that have happened to Addie in the past? Like, I don't understand why I'm supposed to care. And so for the first half of the book, I was feeling kind of disappointed. I was feeling very skeptical. I'm like, I don't think this is going to work for me. I don't think I'm going to like it. Well, imagine my surprise as the book gets down towards the end. I found myself hooked. I was totally invested. I thought the book took a really surprising turn. And the ending of this was something that was so completely unexpected and surprising. And it's hard to surprise me. So when something like that does happen, like, I really appreciate it. And I actually felt myself getting kind of emotional almost, because the end of this book is really, it's really heartfelt. It's heartwarming. It's, well, maybe heartwarming's not, warming's not the right word, but like, it's very emotional. And I felt myself getting emotional, which I did not expect. So if you are someone who has been waiting to read this book and you're not sure if it's worth the hype, this is what I would say. I believe that The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, at its core, is a character study. A character study. And what I mean by that is that we get so much information and detail into Addie's life, from the moment that she runs away from home way back in the 1600s to present day, 2020 New York. We get to learn so much about her life, all of her experiences, all of her hopes and dreams, her fears, how she's had to struggle at times. Like, how do you get a job and income if no one remembers who the heck you are? Like, it's crazy. And she's had to go through some really dark things, like really dark things, trigger warning things, in order to survive. So if you are someone that really likes that deep character exploration, I think you'll probably enjoy this one. If you're not into that as much, if you're more into, like, the action and the adventure and, like, a fast moving plot, this one may not work for you, because it's definitely not fast moving. The book goes through hundreds and hundreds of years, so you would think that that would happen quickly, but it really doesn't. It feels very slow. It feels very slowly paced. And that is why I struggled with it in the beginning. So just keep that in mind. So if you like really deep character explorations, you might like it. If you don't like stories that are like a really slow burn, you might not. So that is all I have to say about The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I feel like most people have probably read this one, but if not, you may want to give it a try, or you may not, depending on what I said. But yeah, ultimately, I really enjoyed this one. It has a pretty good chance of being on my top 10 for the year, but I'll have to think about it. So now I want to know from you, have you read The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue? Did you like it like me? Did you struggle with it? Why? Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section below. And as always, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're not already, please subscribe to my channel for more bookish stuff coming your way soon. All right, everyone, happy reading.